imagine we cross a tall, round-seeded plant with a genotype of big T, little t, big R, little r, with a plant that is short with round seeds with the genotype of little t, big R, little r. Remember that capital T allele stands for tall, it's dominant. Little t allele stands for short, and it is recessive. And the big R allele stands for round seeds, and it's dominant. And the little r allele stands for wrinkled seeds, and it is recessive. So again, we've got big R, round seeds, dominant, little r, wrinkled seeds, recessive, big T, tall plant, dominant, little t, short plant, recessive. Now, when we're trying to figure out what's going to happen when you cross a plant with this genotype with a plant of this genotype, we first got to figure out which gametes are going to be made from each plant. So, what's going to happen is the T's are going to separate from each other, and the R's are going to separate from each other, so that each gamete will have one T and one R. So, if we're looking at this gamete here, this T and this R come together to make that. This T and this R come together to make that. This T and this R to make that. And this T and this R to make that. Do the same thing for the other side. So now we have this T and this R. This T and that R. This T and this R. And this T and this R. Now we draw our Punnett square. The Punnett square is going to be a grid that is 4 by 4. And on the one side of the grid, we're going to put all the gametes from here, and on the, so all of these will go here, all of these will go here. So that goes there, that goes there, that goes there, and that goes there. And then same for here. So now to fill in each of these squares, we're going to take this T and that T, and then this R and this R. And now we're going to do the same thing in this box, where we take this T and that T, and then R, R. And we're going to go ahead and do that for every box. So, big T, big R, little r. And then for this box, big T, big R, little r. And now we have this completed Punnett square. So now we can figure out what proportion of the offspring have each of the 4 possible phenotypes. So our 4 possible phenotypes are tall and round, short and round, tall, wrinkled, short, wrinkled. So let's see what proportion are going to be tall and round. Remember, so I'm going to highlight everything that is tall and round in red like this. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the rest of them are either short and round like these, tall and wrinkled like these, short and round, or short and wrinkled. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are tall and round out of 16. So that means that 6/16 or 3/8 are going to be tall and round. Now we can do the same thing for tall and wrinkled, or short and round, I should say. So we're going to highlight all of those blue. So short and round, short round, short round, short round, short round, short round, short round. It's another 6 out of 16 or 3/8. Now we're going to see what proportion are going to be tall and wrinkled. We'll highlight those in green. So tall wrinkled, tall wrinkled. So if we look, that is 2 out of 16 or 1/8. And then the last one we've got is short wrinkled, which is this one and this one. So that's another 2 out of 16, or 1/8. So, in the end, we have 3/8 tall round, 3/8 short round, 1/8 tall wrinkled, 1/8 short wrinkled. That is the proportion of the phenotypes of the offspring. So if we look, this is how we do the entire process. We start with our original genotypes, big T, big R, cross with little t, big R. We figure out what the gametes are going to look like, so that with this organism here, it's going to make a big T, big R gamete, little t, big R, big T, little r, little t, little r. This one over here, little t, big R, little t, big R, little t, little r, little t, little r. We fill in the Punnett square like I did here, and then from that we can figure out what proportion of the offspring are going to have each trait. Now the other way we can do this is we start with this same big T, big R times little t, big R. So we'll start with that over here. So we start with that the same like we started before, but this time, instead of doing it in one big Punnett square, we can divide it into 2 smaller Punnett squares. So you can take the T's and set them up as their own Punnett squares. So you take the big T here, little t here, and the little t here, and you set that up as its own distinct cross. So we got big T times little t. And you can do the same thing with the R's. So we'll have big R times big R, little r. And so now what we can do is set up Punnett squares for each of these individually. So we start the way that we did it with before, where we take the genes and we separate, or we take the genotype here and we separate out into what each of the gametes are going to be. So this T separates from this T, which means that you're going to have a big T gamete and a little t gamete. And then for this one, you've got this little t and this little t. So you're going to have a little t and another little t. So now we have our 4 gametes. So we can draw the Punnett square. And this one go on this side, and this one go on this side. And now we fill it in just like we did before. So you have big T here, little t here, big T, little t. Big T here, little t here, big T, little t, little t, and then the same thing there. And so if we look at this, 2 out of the 4, or 1/2, are going to be big T, little t, which means they're going to be tall. And the other 2 are going to be little t, which means they are going to be short. Now we can do the same thing with the round versus wrinkled. So I'm going to go over here. And we separate it out into the gametes. So this one makes a big R and a little r, and this one also makes a big R and a little r. And then we draw our Punnett square like we did before. And these 2 are on this side, these 2 go on this side. We go ahead and fill in the Punnett square. And so now if we look which ones are going to be round versus wrinkled, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 round, 1 wrinkled, which means 3/4 round, 1/4 wrinkled. So now we've got it set up where we know that you're going to have half tall, half short, 1/4 wrinkled, 3/4 round. So we've still got all of those same possibilities. We still got tall round, tall wrinkled, and short wrinkled. So we've still got those 4 possibilities. Tall round, tall wrinkled, and short wrinkled. But now the way we're going to calculate these is to figure out which proportion are going to be tall and round. You take the proportion that will be tall and you multiply it by the proportion that will be round. So 1/2 will be tall, 3/4 will be round. So 1/2 times 3/4 equals 3/8. That's the proportion that will be tall and round. For tall and wrinkled, or for short and round, 1/2 will be short, 3/4 round. So 1/2 times 3/4 equals 3/8. For tall and wrinkled, 1/2 tall, 1/4 wrinkled. One half times 1/4 equals 1/8. And finally, for short and wrinkled, you've got 1/2 short, 1/4 wrinkled, and you get 1/8 again. So if you look, you get 3/8 tall round, 3/8 short round, 1/8 tall wrinkled, 1/8 short wrinkled, which is exactly the same as we got over here. 3/8 tall round, 3/8 short round, 1/8 tall wrinkled, 1/8 short wrinkled. So it's two different ways to do the same problem. You can either do it like this, where you set up one big Punnett square, or you can do it like this, where you set up two smaller Punnett squares. You end up with the exact same answer.